What is up, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs? Welcome to the Valenti VOD. I'm your perfect and humble leader, Chris Valenti. And today we're going to be covering this interview that Elon Musk did with Don Lemon yesterday. And I really like Don Lemon. Don doesn't pull his punches. He asks very hard-hitting questions. And I really like the Don Lemon show more than I liked him on CNN. And this is something that you even see with like Tucker Carlson. Ever since he left Fox, he's had a better show. And I ain't no Tucker Carlson fan. I think the guy's fucking insane. But it's more consumable now that he's off of these mainstream media outlets. Regardless, we're going to watch a lot of this. We're going to react to it. I'm going to unpack my own opinions on this. But Don Lemon is throwing punches, man. He asks Elon straight up about his ketamine use and what he thinks about DEI and the woke mind virus. And he calls Elon out on all of his bullshit. And it's really interesting to watch. So we're going to watch some of this in a little bit of a increased speed here. But without further ado, before we do, I want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Those cost you nothing and it helps me immensely. If you do want to help out the channel monetarily, there's 3 ways you could do it. You could buy some of this dope-ass Valenti Videos merch from down below. You could also use the link in the description to get 40% off on the Ground News Vantage subscription, which is what I use to parse through all of the bullshit. And also, you can become a member for $5. When you become a member to the channel, you're going to get early access to these videos, and you're going to get access to a upcoming show that is members only. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive right into it. There's going to be a lot of pausing here. We're not going to watch all of the segments because this is an hour-long interview, but we're going to cover the meat and potatoes, all right? So let's dive right in.
Well, let's talk now about a little bit more about everything, well, including Tesla, SpaceX, Tesla. You got a lot of lawsuits. You've got X.com. You got a lot going on. How do you relax?
Well, I relax. I spend time with my kids, my friends, and I, make somewhat of a neurotechnologist. So I like playing video games. So.
Oh yeah, you like playing video games, Elon? Like fucking Path of Exile 2? I'm gonna move myself to the middle here. Like Path of Exile 2, which you love to lie about being the best in the world in?
I'll play video games with friends online.
Which one?
Lately I've been playing Diablo, but I played almost all the games over the years. A long time ago, I was like semi-pro good at Quake. This is really dating me because we're talking about like more than 25 years ago.
I don't know video games. I just know that my great nephew loves Fortnite and some other stuff.
We love Fortnite. We love Fortnite.
The thing. So that helped.
I do find it relatively concerning that the richest man on planet Earth, who is almost a trillionaire, somehow has time to play video games, but not just like a game of Fortnite. Elon plays games like Diablo and Path of Exile. If you're not a gamer, you might not know that these are like grinder games. You need to be playing this shit fucking 7 hours a day simply to progress like an inch, okay? So I do find it very concerning that the Fuhrer, Elon, has time to play fucking games. Motherfucker, I barely have time to play games, and I'm a dipshit YouTuber. So, go fuck yourself, Elon. No games for you.
Helps you relax, right? So do you?
Yeah. The nice thing is if you've got friends in different cities and they're playing the same game, you can both go online at the same time and play the game together, even though you're in different cities.
Listen, I'm not asking you anything that anyone else hasn't asked you about your controversial stuff that you tweet. You post a lot of controversial stuff. Is that considered blowing off steam?
Well, I guess I do enjoy using the platform. I mean, I do call the X platform the PvP, or player versus player
Shut
platform.
the fuck up.
So in video games, there's player versus like environment, where you're not playing against other people, and then there's PvP, which is like hardcore. You're actually playing against other people, and
but that's blowing off steam for you.
yeah,
Yes.
it is to some degree.
Okay,
always.
so the Fuhrer of the United States blows off steam by posting misinformation on the social media platform that he owns and purchased for something like $48 billion. And he just blows off steam by shit posting. I mean, things like bringing up the Great Replacement Theory and reposting just pure lies about DEI and shit about the woke mind virus, not to mention all of the fucking neo-Nazi rhetoric that he spews on this platform. I mean, the guy literally bought the world's biggest soapbox simply so that he could stand on it and blow off steam? Really? I mean, let me explain something to you. Even if you don't follow Elon Musk on Twitter, every single one of his tweets will pop up on your phone because that's what he cares about. It's not about freedom of speech. It's about freedom of my speech. He wants everybody to hear what he says. This is the same reason why he keeps on posting like, how many Americans support Doge? And then it'll say like 89% yes and 11% no. And he goes, it's overwhelming. Hey, fucking dipshit, do you think Twitter represents the United States voting? Is that voters? Is that what you think? The 2% of the population is on Twitter, and they are louder than 98% of the population. That's what Twitter is. Okay, it's where the most fucking pathetic incel groypers on both the left and the right come out to fucking spew their nonsense. And to be frank, not everybody should have a platform, okay? Including myself. Let's keep on watching.
I mean, obviously I use it for, to post jokes, to post, sometimes trivia, sometimes things that are of great importance.
So you do a lot of it at night, like late at night. So when you're doing
when
this,
you're high on ketamine.
Are you sober when you do it?
Almost
Are
always,
you
yes.
under the influence of anything?
No, I don't drink. I don't really. No,
I don't drink. I don't really what? I don't really what? You can't say you don't do drugs because you are a known fucking junkie. You're a ketamine junkie.
But you're not, no drink, no smoke, no nothing. I mean, you smoke pot with Rogan.
I had one puff.
Yeah.
I think anyone who smokes pot can tell I don't know how to smoke pot.
But you
Yeah, no, we do not accept Elon. Elon is not one of us. He is not a stoner.
admitted that you have a ketamine subscription, prescription.
Yeah.
You do.
Yes.
What's that for?
Well, I mean, that's pretty private to ask somebody about a medical prescription, you know.
Oh, it's pretty private, Elon? You know what else is pretty private? Defunding the fucking VA. Destroying Social Security. Defunding Medicaid. Defunding SNAP. Guess what, mein Fuhrer? You no longer get privacy, you slimy, foreign-born, unelected piece of shit. You don't get fucking privacy. The whole goddamn world is gonna ask about your ketamine addiction. You're gonna fucking answer, bitch.
I think it's something I'd say, like, there are times when I have sort of a, I don't know, like a negative chemical state in my brain, like depression, I guess. You know,
Depression, and you're saying that you take SSRIs such as ketamine in order, or sorry, not ketamine is not an SSRI, but you're taking drugs to deal with your chemical imbalance. Well, according to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you, Elon, should be thrown into a work camp so that you can work through that addiction, just like RFK has proposed for all people who take any sort of SSRIs to deal with depression or anxiety or any of the sort. That's the stage we're at in the United States of America, where Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the head of the HHS, has decided that it would be a good idea to create mandatory work camps for those of us who are using drugs, prescription drugs, to deal with chemical imbalances. And you, mein Fuhrer, you seemingly are the top candidate. You're taking a fucking horse tranquilizer to deal with your depression. Now, here's the thing, guys. I'm not stupid enough to think that money buys happiness. But if I was almost a trillionaire, I'm not sure if I would be capable of feeling depression. Maybe, Elon, your depression stems from the fact that you're a dog shit father and you've disowned one of your children. You're also rampantly addicted to ketamine, and the entire fucking world hates you because they know that you're a pro-apartheid fucking Nazi. Maybe that's part of the reason why you're so fucking depressed. Because you're so addicted to the attention of others. All you want is for people to like you. It's the same reason why you fucking faked being the #1 player on Path of Exile 2. The only reason why you would fake that is because you really want gamers to like you. Because that's who you think is your fucking fan base. You're a lizard in a meat suit. Go fuck yourself.
Depression that's not linked to any negative news, and then ketamine is helpful for getting one out of a negative frame of mind.
Yeah, horse tranquilizer. It's real helpful.
Well, listen.
So in fact, I generally, obviously I'm not a doctor, but I would say if someone has depression issues, they should consider talking to the doctor about ketamine instead of SSRIs.
Listen,
Do not take that advice. Do not take that advice. Do not take that fucking advice. I will stand on this hill. I am a drug addict. I have been a drug addict for a very long time. I have my sobriety date tattooed on my fucking ribs, okay? I haven't done hard drugs since 7/14/15, and I can tell you firsthand, if you are depressed, ketamine will not fix it. All it will do is provide a band-aid to a bullet wound. And you are going to add to your depression by becoming reliant on a fucking horse tranquilizer.
I think that ketamine
What he's saying is so dangerous.
and drug therapy is increasingly becoming more in the mainstream.
Yeah.
So, but you have admitted you have a ketamine prescription. That's why I asked you about it. I don't want to get into something
Sure,
personally.
sure.
About
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So, do you think you're doing it under a doctor's care, right?
Yeah. Literally a prescription from
Yeah.
a real doctor, not like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
But
What's the dose?
do you feel like you ever abuse it?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, you didn't abuse it. What about on inauguration day when you were looking up, seeing fucking stars in the sky, and you got so geeked up because you're a fucking narcissist, autistic ketamine junkie that you accidentally ripped off the mask and Sega-heiled twice on the fucking world stage. Do you want to know what that was? Go watch that clip again. This motherfucker is biting his lip when he does it. And he lets out a grunt. He goes, ugh! He lets out a grunt and he's biting his lip. Do you want to know what that was? That was, Elon Musk knows, and he knew, and he said it himself, that if Trump didn't win the election, he would go to prison, okay? Because he's a fucking criminal. He cuts corners, he practices unsafe work practices, his Tesla cars are just completely unsafe, his starships are exploding in the sky. The guy is a fucking criminal, right? And he was so geeked up, so excited that Donald Trump won, and he actually was successful. The $200 million that Elon donated to the Trump campaign actually worked out for him. On top of that, he was so loaded on ketamine and feeling the claps and the cheers that he had a moment where he goes, I'm just gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna fucking do it. And he fucking did it. And immediately he realized, oh my God, I just did that. And he goes, my heart goes out to you. That's the fucking problem, Elon. Jesus Christ.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, I'm not. I don't think so.
You don't think
Do you
you're
think that
abusing
that
ketamine?
is somehow,
I mean, if you use too much ketamine, you can't really get work done. So I have a lot of work. So I'm typically putting in 16-hour days. That's normal for me. And
Bullshit.
It's rare for me to even take off a weekend day. So I don't really have a situation where I can be not mentally acute for
Bullshit.
an extended period of time. Like I can't really get wasted because I can't get my work done.
So
So
real
you
quick,
said-
Elon, you work 16-hour days, right? Apparently. How are you a father of 14 children that we know of? Sorry, 13 children that we know of. How are you a father then? Are you ever there for your children? Which in this fucking interview, you claim that one of the ways that you de-stress is by spending time with your children. No, the fuck you don't. The only child you spend time with is the one that you use as a fucking meat shield. Worst dad of the fucking year.
you can't get your work done with you said with what?
I mean, if you're inebriated, it's hard to get work done.
Do you think you're inebriated
yeah?
when you do ketamine?
Tell that to Pete Hegseth.
No, if you do a lot of ketamine, then you're inebriated. If you do a small amount, you're not.
That's my question about do you ever abuse it? That's why I
don't think
asked.
so.
Yeah. So how often do you take it?
Well, it'd be like a small amount once every other week or something like that.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I don't believe that at all.
But there's not on the bottle where it says take this dose this many times a week or whatever. If it's
Yeah,
not
I
a
match
doctor's
the dose.
care.
There are several weeks will go by where I don't use it.
You don't use it.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think what I find ketamine is if you're like literally like a chemical state in your brain that you can't just think yourself out of, then ketamine is helpful for getting you out of a depressive mind state.
Yeah. So you suffer from depression? Are you in a depressive mind state? And I asked you as someone who has suffered from depression.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I have like a case of like extended depression. It's just once.
Shut the fuck up. I'm not even watching the rest of this. You don't have fucking depression. You're almost a fucking trillionaire. You don't have the right to be depressed. Go cry in your fucking mega yacht and drink a glass of champagne, bitch. Now we've got another fucking part of this. It's all about the Great Replacement Theory. Now, if you don't know what this is, the Great Replacement Theory, it's completely debunked. It is a conspiracy theory that is part of the white nationalist playbook. It's literally in the white nationalist handbook. It has been quoted in the manifestos of mass shooters and mass murderers. The whole point of the Great Replacement Theory is it started off as an anti-Jewish theory that Jews are bringing in Latinos and migrants in order to vote for the Democratic Party and replace the white majority of the United States. And it's complete bullshit. It's a Nazi theory that Elon Musk subscribes to. He's a big proponent of it. He reposts shit about it all the time, and he also pussyfoots and says that he doesn't support it, even though he fucking publicly does on his own platform. So let's watch a little bit of this now.
All right, well, can we talk about the Great Replacement Theory now? Some of the things that you post, the Great Replacement Theory, you claim that Democrats, President Biden's immigration plan to open up the border, you said that the president is getting, and Democrats are doing it to get more votes. But undocumented immigrants cannot vote in federal elections, so how is that possible?
Right. Well, you're conflating two things. One is Great Replacement Theory. The other is, which I don't subscribe to that. I'm simply
Yes, you
saying
do.
that there is an incentive here. If legal immigrants, which I think have a very strong bias to, at least everything I've read, it's a very strong bias to vote Democrat.
Maybe that's because the Democratic Party actually considers them human.
The more that come into the country, the more they're likely to vote in that direction. It is, in my view, a simple incentive to increase Democrat voters.
Okay, so again, Elon, undocumented immigrants can't vote, dipshit. So try again.
And yeah, so your question is like how? So there's a few ways that this works. One is that when the census is done, the census is based on all people in an area, whether they are citizens or not. So if there are a concentration of people who came here illegally in a particular state or in a particular state, that state will actually then get an increased number of House seats. So the House seat apportionment is proportionate to the number of people, not the number of...
But that's what the Electoral College is in place for. The Electoral College is designed to give lower populated areas a fair chance to have a vote against largely populated areas. And the Electoral College is quite literally swayed for the right wing because red states have lower population rates than blue states. You go to somewhere like fucking California or New York, there are far more people. So the whole point of the Electoral College is to give you, the Republican voters, a fighting chance against us, the people who provide 75% of the GDP of the United States, blue cities.
Citizens. So the illegals overwhelmingly go to places like California and New York, and if you just look at the math, if you look at the apportionment with and without illegals, I believe California would lose. I believe the blue state, there would be a net loss of blue states of approximately 20 seats in the House. This also applies to the Electoral College. So you say, like, well, this also applies to electing the president, because the electoral votes are also done by apportionment the same way that House seats are done.
Yeah, but
so both for electing the House and for electing the president, if you just stack the deck with illegals, you can actually elect anyone you want.
But to my understanding, that is done by citizens and not by people who are here illegally.
No, what I'm saying is, and you may not be aware of this, but this is the way the law currently works. Is that the House apportionment, like how many House seats?
I understand what you're saying,
yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily equate into votes, Elon.
No, but
it doesn't equate into votes at all because undocumented immigrants can't fucking vote. They can't vote. You need to register to vote. And an undocumented immigrant is not going to register to vote. They're not going to give the federal government their fucking information. Holy fuck, I can't believe I have to explain this to this guy.
If there is a state
rat.
that is, if the illegals disproportionately go to Democrat areas. It amplifies the value of a Democratic vote.
Well,
That's not true.
But the
That's
reason
not true.
But the reason, Elon, the Electoral College is in place is to balance that.
Exactly.
So that doesn't happen. So
Exactly.
What you're saying about it is the exact opposite of the reason why the Electoral College is
No.
there. The Electoral College at this point.
I just to remind you, this guy is not born in America. He just simply does not have a good understanding of the American government. Yet he's the Fuhrer.
At this point in our history.
Much like how Adolf Hitler wasn't born in Germany. He was born in Austria. He was not a German, and he became the supreme leader of Germany. Interesting.
History gives people who are in smaller states and red states much more of an influence over our elections than people who are in blue states, and the majority of the people in this country. That's
Precisely.
what the Electoral College does. It actually does the exact opposite of what you're saying. It protects people who are in smaller states and protects people who are in red states.
Well,
The red states because it tends to be smaller and less popular.
I think that statement is what you said is true, but what I said is also true, which is that if, as is the case, a disproportionate number of legal immigrants go to blue states, they amplify the effect of a blue state vote. And the math, as I understand it, you can research this obviously very easily on there. It's pretty straightforward to research this. But my understanding is that there would be that the Democrats would lose approximately 20 seats in the House if illegals were not counted in the census. And that's also 20 less electoral votes.
Okay, so you just saying that you don't want to count illegal immigrants in the census. Meanwhile, the census is counting how many fucking people are in an area. So are we just... You have two choices, Elon. We just pretend they're not here, or we round them all up and send them away. That's what you want to do. And the thing is, I understand MAGA unironically wants to deport 20 million people. You want to deport 10-year-old girls who were born in the United States, but their parents were here illegally. Therefore, that 10-year-old girl's a piece of shit. Send her back to Guatemala. And that is because you're all bad people. You're all disgusting husks of humans. I mean that. If you voted for Donald Trump and you still support him, you are a shell of a person. Go fuck yourself. I hate you. And that's the reason why he's spewing this bullshit, is because he knows his voting base is okay with rounding up and deporting 20 million fucking people. No matter what happens to them, they don't give a shit. They want to put them in concentration camps in El Salvador. They want to give them no fucking court date using the Laken Riley Act and the Alien Enemies Act of 1797. They don't give a shit about the rule of law. It's the same reason why they're attacking the First Amendment. If you talk badly about the Supreme Leader, you're a dissident. Mahmoud Khalil thrown in fucking prison regardless of the fact that the White House admitted that he's never committed a crime. This is fascism is, I like to say that fascism is here, but unironically, Nazism is here. America has entered the Nazi chapter. Fascists have existed forever. They just haven't always had a term for it, right? But Nazis, they didn't exist forever. And now America is the Fourth Reich, or as I like to call it, the Nerd Reich.
Votes for president. So legals absolutely do affect the who controls the House and who controls the presidency. It does not affect the Senate.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
In blue states, you're talking about.
Yes.
I don't believe that your information on that is right.
Luigi!
I just know that in every study that has been done about illegal immigrants and about voting and about people voting illegally, none of it turns out to be true. I'm just going to give you an example. This is just in Georgia. I found that there were 1,634 non-citizens who attempted to register to vote for the last 25 years. Not one of them actually were able to register to vote. 42 jurisdictions in the 2016 election. Of the 23.5 million votes, they only found approximately 30 instances of suspected non-citizen voting. That would account for 0.1% of the votes in jurisdictions. It doesn't really change the outcome of elections. Illegal people attempting to vote in the election. It just doesn't happen.
I think that is incorrect. You're stating what is.
I think that is incorrect, is his response to a indisputable fact that has been studied even by the Heritage Foundation, a right-wing think tank. The Heritage Foundation, they had a task, which was to find examples of voter fraud, of undocumented immigrants voting. And through their investigation, they were able to find 30 from the year 2000 to today. 30 cases of undocumented immigrants voting in the federal election, in the presidential election, over 25 years. So, Elon, your opinion doesn't fucking matter.
What was found, but not what actually happened. What was found and what actually happened are not the same thing.
What do you?
Oh, so what you're seeing with your own eyes isn't actually real?
What do you mean by that?
The lack of voter ID in elections makes it almost impossible to trace fraud.
Incorrect, dumbass. I live in New York, okay? In New York, you do not need a photo ID to vote. Why is that? That's because in New York City, most people don't have a driver's license because there's no fucking point to driving. Now, you probably go, wait a minute, you don't need a photo ID? Doesn't that mean anybody can go in and vote for anybody? No, dumbass. You need to A, register to vote. You need to B, have a signature matched on your voter registration, and C, have an address linked to that profile, okay? So let's just say, hypothetically, an undocumented immigrant shows up to vote in the federal election. The presidential election. The first thing that they're going to be asked is, we need your signature to match your voter registration. And they're going to go, I'm not registered to vote. Now, here's the thing. Whether you are undocumented or documented, the answer is going to be, I'm sorry, you can't vote then. There's the problem. So now let's say this guy goes, okay, well, since I'm not registered to vote, I know my buddy Tom, the white American, he's registered to vote. So my name is Tom Peterson. And they're going to go, okay, Mr. Tom Peterson, please tell us your address. And he's going to go, oh, fuck, I didn't think this far ahead. I don't know the address. But let's say, hypothetically, this undocumented immigrant memorized Tom Peterson's address. And he goes, 203 Negro Arroyo Lane. And they go, okay, Mr. Peterson, we're going to need you to sign here. And it needs to be a match to this signature, which we're not going to show you. So, unless you believe that undocumented immigrants are studying and memorizing people's fucking signatures and addresses, and then, so here. So he does it. Perfect match, right? And he votes. And then 20 minutes later, Tom Peterson comes in to vote. And they say, Mr. Peterson, you've already voted. And he goes, wait a minute, no, I didn't. That will trigger an investigation, which will then find the undocumented immigrant who committed voter fraud and will be charged with a felony and most likely fucking deported. This is why it doesn't happen! Because they're already here illegally. They're already hiding from the federal government. Why the fuck would they put themselves under a spotlight in order to get one vote? One vote? MAGA, if you believe this, you are unironically dumber than a fucking doorknob. You're stupid as shit.
What do you mean? If someone is a registered voter,
Yes.
right, and a legal citizen,
No, how do you know they're a legal citizen?
because
They
they're a
registered to
voter, and they're a
vote!
legal
Not everyone
citizen.
who's registered to vote is a legal citizen.
Yes, they are!
A legal
I'm gonna
immigrants
crash
who
the
are
fuck
here
out.
illegally or undocumented cannot vote in federal elections.
I'm gonna
It
crash
is
out.
technically against the law.
It's against the law.
Yes.
Right.
It's also against the law to enter the country illegally.
Yeah,
That's
they did
two
that.
different fucking
Yeah,
things.
yes, it is, but you're equating two different things. You have to be here legally to vote. And if you're an undocumented immigrant, you cannot vote in federal elections. And there are very few
Right.
places in the country where you can vote in state or municipal elections. And that's usually about
Why is it that you need an ID for everything except a federal election?
Because
Isn't that-
not everybody has a fucking ID! Not everybody has a fucking ID!
Seem a little odd.
that you need? Well, you know, I mean, I didn't need an ID to walk around. I don't need an ID to go into the
You need an
local
ID
store.
to get a credit card, to have a bank account, to get into, buy liquor, to get on an airplane, to rent a car.
I think it's okay to.
But you don't need an ID to vote.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having more accountability in any process, right? And even when it comes to Tesla, when it comes to X, and which we'll talk about, accountability is.
Okay.
I think it's
enough of this. Let's move on to the next portion here. Oh, this is about DEI. You're gonna love this one.
female person was involved. Here's the interview. Okay, so listen, let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, all right? That's been a target of yours lately on X. There was a repost of Ben Shapiro that you claim that DEI is killing people. Specifically, you point to medicine. You claim that DEI programs are putting people at risk. Do you really believe this to be true? And what evidence do you have to support it?
What I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards for doctors, so that they
lower the standards.
If the test for a doctor is lowered,
nobody's lowered. That's not what DEI is. That's unironically not what DEI is. DEI is not about lowering the standards, the prerequisites to become a fucking surgeon, you absolute moron. It's about making sure that these primarily white-dominated fields also accept people of color into the field. Nothing about it is lower. It's not like we say, this white guy is super qualified, this black guy isn't qualified, so let's let the black guy get the position. No, dumbass! It's about this white guy's qualified and this black guy's qualified. 75% of our workforce is already white men. We should probably choose the black guy. That's what DEI is. A fucking sixth grader could understand this, you slimy reptile.
Then the probability of them making a mistake and killing someone is obviously going to be higher.
Wait, say that again. I'm not sure I understand what you said. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes, if the standards for passing medical exams and becoming a doctor, or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lowered,
which they're not,
then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exams.
So Elon, that's true. If the standards were lowered, then the probability of a surgeon making a mistake would be higher. Unfortunately for you, fortunately for society, the standards for surgeons haven't been lowered.
They may make mistakes with people, and that may result in people dying.
What evidence do you have, though, that they're lowering the standards?
He doesn't have any.
There's no evidence of that.
I believe there is.
No, there isn't.
There's no evidence of that, Elon. What is the evidence?
I believe they have literally lowered the standards at Duke University.
They haven't.
That's what the article was referring to.
They haven't. I'm going to prove it to you. I prepared. I came ready with my homework. You ready? Let's zoom in for you. Now, I know a bunch of you are going to go, well, the AI overview doesn't count. What if I asked Grok? Would it count then? Because guess what? I asked Grok as well, and Grok says, nope, there's no evidence to suggest that Duke University has lowered its standards, despite allegations made by Ben Shapiro and Elon Musk regarding the School of Medicine's admission process. Here's the links to it all. Duke Chronicle, Inside Higher Education, dukechronicle.com. But again, this is probably liberal media to all you MAGA chuds, and it's fake news, right, brother? Because anything that proves you wrong is just fake news, right, brother? Hell yeah, brother. Fucking uneducated, inbred chuds.
Are you saying they have not lowered the standards?
There's no evidence about
there's no evidence
standards, and I think that there is.
I believe that is a false statement you're making.
Nope. What you're making is a false statement, just like everything you fucking post on Twitter, you actual fucking Nazi.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think
the interesting thing is, when this is posted on the X platform, there will be a whole bunch of things that rebut what you said and what I said. Right. And so people can then make their own decision based on the replies, and the rebuttals, and the community.
No, you don't get to make your own decisions. For example, the sky is blue. Do you have an opinion on that, Elon? It doesn't matter if you do. Your opinion is fucking null and void because we got the fucking evidence. So if you say, I found a unicorn, and then Don says, there's no evidence that you found a unicorn, you don't get to say, well, in my opinion, I did find evidence. That's not evidence! I'm gonna crash out. I'm crashing out. I'm crashing out. I'm crashing out.
I think that's fair, but I do think that on this particular topic, I do think that you and Ben Shapiro are reaching in about this, because there was what Ben posted said that people were, he gave instances of people who were deliberately harming people. Nowhere in the thread does Ben suggest at all, I should say, that anyone is being killed as a result of DEI. That's purely speculative. There's research on DEI in medicine, and there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, that DEI is affecting medicine. Actually, like only 5% of doctors are black, and a small percent.
Which is why DEI exists.
I think you'll find that when this is posted to the X platform, that people will reply to it with evidence.
Yes, your yes men and sycophants and Elon dick-riding, nut-cupping, throat-sucking fucking losers are gonna come to your defense. All you fucking gross-ass, pathetic, Elon dick-riding gropers, holy shit. First of all, admit space is fucking real, because I know you stupid fucks think the planet is flat. But admit space is real, and then we'll have a conversation, dipshits.
I'm wrong, let's see.
Okay, so, but that's my whole thing about moderation. Maybe you're wrong, but you'll put it out there, you don't know if it's right. Do you think that you have a responsibility to make sure something is right before you, the person who owns it, that Elon Musk, who's a huge figure in the world, that you should know that it's true, that there are people at X who can get research for you before you put something out there like that? That's not necessarily true.
No, because he doesn't care if it's true or not. He's just like Trump. If he says it, it's true. Why? Because he has a cult following who will fucking... Dude, this is what presidents do. Let me give you one example. You know the SR-71? If you ever played Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops, it's the Blackbird, right? The SR-71, it's the plane that goes up into the stratosphere. When Ronald Reagan was the president, he was supposed to announce that we got this new plane called the SR-71. It turns out the plane was called the RS-71, and Ronald Reagan, he must have had like a moment of dyslexia, and he read out the SR-71. And because he was the president, he can't be wrong. So they literally changed the name of the plane from the RS-71 to the SR-71 to appease to the fucking narcissistic tendencies of Ronald Reagan. This is what you're going to do, Elon. Even if you find out that what you're saying or want to say isn't true, you're going to say it anyway because you can convince tens of millions of people that you are correct through the deployment of your PR team on Twitter. You're fucking groypers.
Even in other examples.
If I say something that is inaccurate, I'm immediately corrected on the platform. That's the advantage of a real-time system like X. So there'll be immediately in the replies people correcting me. There'll be a community note that will correct me, which is attached to the actual post itself.
Do you think as many people read the...
Yes.
You think as many people read that as it read your tweet?
Yes, in fact, and if there's a
So you're an idiot.
community note that happens later that somebody didn't see, but they replied to that or interacted with that post, we will notify them that there is now a community note correcting that post.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, another fucking bullshit answer, a non-answer. So let's just, the last subject here that I want to cover is I talked about the woke mind virus. And then we're going to wrap it up and close out.
Let's talk about trans rights and the woke mind virus, because you talk about that a lot. You're right about that a lot on the thing. You have been deeply outspoken about the issue of trans rights. You posted trans rights. You posted that pronouns in bio mean the woke mind virus ate your brain. Do you know what the term woke actually means?
It's come to mean a lot of things.
The term woke comes from black culture, and it means that you are awake and aware of systemic racism within the United States, racism that is rooted within our institutions. I understand that the idea of being woke has sort of changed throughout time, but at its root, being woke simply means that you are aware that people of color are at a disadvantage than compared to people of European descent in the United States. That is all it means.
Things.
But what originally it was meant to mean, it's just being aware of inequities in society and being aware of facts and history?
Yeah, I think it's come to be. I think being aware of inequities in society is fine, of course, but trying to blame everything on trying to make everything a race issue is, I think, divisive and corrosive to society.
Then why does the government make everything a fucking race issue? Why do we have racial law embedded within the Constitution?
Even as it relates to trans issues, which is what I'm...
Yeah, race or, gender or whatever.
You think that society blames everything on racism now?
It blames a lot of things on it, and yeah.
You think that's unfair?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, it's unfair. Oh, curious. I mean, you do know that the nation was quite literally built on top of the fucking bones and ashes of millions of Native Americans that we slaughtered. And then our institutions, like the physical buildings, were built by the sweat and labor of fucking slaves. Okay, and then only in 1865 did we free those slaves, which led us into a 60-year-long Jim Crow era, where it took us until the fucking 1960s to have a civil rights movement, which still didn't get rid of all of the systemic racism. And even now, in 2025, we still have gerrymandering and redlining, and we still have all of these laws that fuck over black and brown populations. But no, can't blame racism. Can't blame racism because racism was left behind when we fucking elected Barack Obama.
I think we should not make this a constant subject. I think we need to move on.
We gotta move on. Let's just move on, guys. Let's just move on, man. Racism is bad, but let's just move on.
Treat people like people.
You don't agree that this country was founded on racism and founded on slavery and in many ways inequities? That still continue on to this day?
I think every country at that time, and I think even today, was extremely racist.
Oh, really? Because the Ottomans had banned slavery at that point. The Ottomans had already banned slavery, so is it every nation? Really?
Every country. And obviously, slavery was present in about half of this country. But was not present in the North. There was racism for sure. But, I think we want to look to the future rather than the past.
Yeah, this is why I study history. The only way to create a better future for our children and grandchildren is to look at the mistakes that we made in the past, learn a lesson from it, recognize the patterns around us, and veer off of that road, right? That's why I study history. That's why I get so fucking worked up and crash out on TikTok, is because I spent years trying to teach history and then found out that tens of millions of people who were watching my videos were watching it going, yeah, Germans are cool. Because of the fucking STG and the Messerschmitt 262, these stupid fucking idiots!
Instead of engaging in constant rehashing of the past, because in fact, if you look at history, if you study history broadly, everyone was a slave. Everyone.
What?
Yes. Well, not everyone was a slave, but
everyone was a slave.
Okay.
That's not true.
We are all descended from slaves.
Yeah. Well,
All of us.
We are all descendant from slaves, and everyone was a slave, are two completely different fucking ideas. How are you gonna say one and then the other in the same fucking sentence? How?
Yeah.
It's just a question of when. Was it more recent or less recent? That's it.
Right.
There's this huge... Guys, also, real quick, let me tell you the difference between slavery and chattel slavery. Slavery, yes, he's right. Slavery was practiced across the entire fucking planet. Every fucking culture has practiced slavery. They would go to war with a nation, they would win the war, conquer the land, and enslave the people. Somebody would commit a crime, and they would catch them and enslave them. Somebody would fail to pay back a loan, and they would be forced to do 10 years of slavery as payment. Slavery is a horrible practice, and it is still practiced on this planet, including in the United States of America. It is baked into the 13th Amendment, where slavery is legal as long as you are a prisoner, as long as you are imprisoned. Chattel slavery, that's the transatlantic slave trade. That is when you enslave an entire population of people based off of an intrinsic trait such as race, creed, or religion, or sex, right? So the 400-year-long transatlantic slave trade, where we looked at black people in Africa and said, oh, that's not a person, that's not a human being, we can enslave them, that was a particularly evil version of slavery that the British and the Portuguese and European nations and Spaniards and Americans, that we practiced outside of historical slavery, right? You go look at the Ottomans or the Chinese or the Romans. Yes, they took slaves, but they didn't go, oh, a black guy, slave. That's not what they did. They would, like I said earlier, win a battle or something. There was, even though the reasoning was fucked up, the reasoning was there. It wasn't, oh, your skin is black, therefore you're not human. That's the fucking difference, Elon.
So but what future do we want? Is this something we want to make a part of our constant dialogue forever, or do we want to say, like, let's just move on and treat everyone, according to just who they are as an individual?
Yeah, so in order to do that, you need to be woke. You need to be aware of the systemic issues that are plaguing black and brown people and other minorities and women, right? You need to be aware of it. You need to go from being asleep to being awoken, to being woke to the very issues that you're talking about, you pathetic, slimy, laminated-faced cuck.
So here's what I want to say about that. There's some truth that many people, many different ethnicities, right? Groups of people were slaves in the past. But I said in this country, we're talking about America, which is a fairly new country. And our history is closer to, maybe closer to us than other places. It is a fact that this country was founded on racist ideals or behaviors, not ideals. The ideals was everyone should be free, but not everyone was treated equally or on equality. Not everyone was treated that way. We did have slavery, we did have Jim Crow, we did have lynchings. We did look at what we did to Native American people. When I say we, I mean America. Mm-hmm. So why would you talk about other countries because I'm talking about America. I'm talking about this country. And you don't think that it still exists, especially considering that we're such a young country and our history is not as far behind us as most places?
I think this country offers opportunity to people, massive opportunity, no matter what your race, creed, religion, whatever it may be. There's no country that is true, better
Elon.
on the face of this earth.
That is
and
true.
That's what we should care about.
That is true.
And that's what we should be focusing on. And instead of divisive race, gender stuff, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a brighter future.
Yeah, that is true. And I think people would like to do that. But until there is an acknowledgement of what happened in the past and a correction, I don't think that we can move on. Don't you think it's important to at least know the history of the country so that we can move forward, as you
say? I think we should know the history of our country in detail and that of other countries, right, and the history of the world.
And especially South Africa. I mean, look at what happened with apartheid. You should, it seems to me that you should be someone who's more understanding of that, considering where you came from. Considering I
wonder if this motherfucker, if Don Lemon is even aware that Elon Musk is pro-apartheid and that he believes the people who felt the most brunt of the apartheid were the white people of European descent left over after apartheid ended. He is very pro-apartheid.
History.
Yeah. There's a slow white genocide going on in South Africa. Do you care about that?
There it is! There it is!
I care about all injustices.
Yeah.
But I don't live in South Africa.
Right.
I live here. You don't live in South Africa. And
I left as soon as I could.
And you
can't control where you're born.
Yeah, but okay.
I left when I was 17 as soon as I could.
Okay. Why?
Because apartheid ended and I no longer had an advantage over my black neighbors.
I wanted to pursue opportunities in America.
Yeah. You wanted to come to the land of opportunity, and I understand.
That's correct. I wanted to come to the land of opportunity. and I was interested in technology, and this is where technology was happening.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we remain the land of opportunity, that we remain the land where what matters is how good are your skills, not anything else.
You think this is a meritocracy, you fucking idiot?
You make progress as a function of how what is your contribution? How good are you? What good are you doing for society? We want to remain the land of opportunity. It's incredibly important that we do so.
I agree with you with that. That's the ideal. But what the evidence shows is that that's not what's actually in practice.
I think we're doing better than anywhere else.
That's true. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean anything, that doesn't mean a lot to a whole lot of people who aren't able to take advantage of the opportunities that you're able to take advantage of, simply because the color of your skin.
What advantages did the color of my skin give me?
Oh my God.
There's an ease that you have in society that many people of color don't. You were able to come to this country voluntarily. There are many people who are not able to come to the country voluntarily. There are people who came here as slaves.
It was very difficult for me to come here.
And there is a legacy of slavery that still continues on. There's a legacy of racism that still continues on in this country. That's undeniable.
Well, if we keep talking about it nonstop, it will never go away.
Oh, so we just ignore the problem, I see.
That's the central thing. It will never go away.
Why do you believe that?
I think I'm just making a simple statement of fact. So I think we want to get away from making everything a race or a gender or whatever issue. Just treat people like individuals.
Do you have any desire to understand what many people of color and even trans people, how they feel about this country and how they're treated in this country? If they say and they believe that they are treated a certain way in this country, why don't you believe them?
Well, I think you cannot be judge and jury of your own position.
Say that again.
I think you cannot say, you cannot have a situation where someone is a self-described victim and they just get to be that because that's how they feel.
I think that does happen in some cases, but not all cases. And I think that not understanding the history of the country, I think, is a real shame. Look,
Why the fuck would this guy understand the history of our country? He's not fucking from here. He doesn't give a shit. All he had to do was fucking buy it from Donald Trump. Oh, this is a very long video, so I'm going to cut it here, guys. If you do want to watch the whole video, you go to Don Lemon's YouTube channel. Shout out Don Lemon. What a fantastic fucking interview. You did a great job. Before we end this video, I want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment down below. It helps me out. It costs you nothing. If you do want to help the channel, you could buy some of this dope-ass merch from down below. You can get a 40% off discount on Ground News, and you can become a member for $5 to get early access to these shows, and you will get access to a members-only show. That's all I got for you today, guys. I fucking hate Elon Musk, and I hope you hate him too. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.